Now today we're installing these Monroe Quick-Struts on this 2010 Subaru behind me with 160,000 miles. So let's jump right into it. So let's start by removing the front wheels. You can use an impact gun or just simply a breaker bar. Now before we can remove the strut from the vehicle, just double check to see if anything's attached to it. In other words, we have an ABS line here and the brake line running to the caliper. So just two fasteners to remove. And this is just some penetrating oil. And since I have the PB Blaster in my hand, I'm just going to spray down the two main fasteners that hold the strut to the knuckle. Now sometimes these can be a little tough to remove, especially here in the Northeast, so just grab a wrench, a rubber mallet. There we go. Now what I'm doing here is making a small marking on both sides of the fastener, and that's because you want to try to keep the alignment as true as possible. It's always a great idea to get an alignment after you do this job, but nonetheless you could just make these paint markings and try to keep the alignment as true as possible. So now we need to remove the two lower strut mounts. So I have a socket, in this case 19mm, attached to the breaker bar, an absolute must-have, makes the job very easy, and then a wrench just to keep the other end from rotating. So hold the wrench with your left, push down on your right. And then simply just use a ratchet to remove the two fasteners. So this bottom section of the strut is completely free, as you can see. Now take note, because the top fastener has a washer and the bottom one does not. So just keep note regarding your vehicle, don't mix and match any of the fasteners. And then lastly, we just have the three mounts here in the engine bay. Now sometimes these can be a little tight, so what you can do is grab your socket and your ratchet. And then I have another socket along with a very long extension to fit over the handle. This makes it incredibly easy to remove these. Make sure you're on there, take your time, and there you go. Now regarding this last fastener, just remove it slowly. I have this one also to catch it. The flip side, now your other option is to reinstall one of the lower mounts. That way the entire assembly doesn't just crash down, maybe rip a brake line or maybe a CV boot. So in other words, this will just drop down, so be really careful when you do this. So now that lower mount is holding the strut in place, so let's go ahead and remove it. Okay, so with my right hand I'm holding the strut, my left, remove the fastener. Gently remove the knuckle here. Watch your lines. And here's the entire assembly. So we have the new strut on the left, the old one on the right. Just don't forget, you need to transfer over the two fasteners. And the kit does include new fasteners for the top mounts. And that's the beauty with these struts. You don't have to transfer the spring over, the top mount, nothing. Just remove the old one, install the new one. So once again, just watch your lines. And if you have a bad lower back, have someone help you, because this can put a lot of strain on your lower back. And then I'm just feeding this up through the top and guiding this on the bottom. There's our top mount. So that little paint mark is at the 12 o'clock position. I'm just holding this tight, and watch how this entire assembly moves based on where this fastener is. This may be a little bit more dramatic. You see how the whole assembly is moving and shifting? So make your markings. Always a good idea to get in alignment anyway, which I am, because this vehicle needs tires. So it's an excellent time to replace the struts. So just mark up your old, let me get my breaker bar, match up your old markings, and you'll be very, very close to the way it was. Now these lower mounts tend to be very, very tight from the factory, roughly 80 to 90 foot-pounds. You can use a torque wrench, but in my case I'm just going to use the breaker bar and make them really tight. And then of course just tighten down your fasteners. If you're curious on the foot-pounds, at least for this vehicle, just to give you a guide, I'll list them in the description box below. So all of the fasteners are nice and tight. Don't forget your ABS and your brake line hookups. Now I just need to do the same thing on the other side of the vehicle. As always, I sincerely hope this helps a number of you out there, and thank you for watching.